Well, this is so rich, and it's almost a travesty to rehearse some of this, but in the limited time I have available, I just want to point out some obvious kinds of repetition. Set aside the pronouns, which I've listed here under 2. Even at the lexical level, there are multiple repetitions where you might wonder why, so close to each other, do you get these repetitions? Item 3, think about line 3. Inside his cell, but his cell is narrow. Full repetition where you could have had something like an anaphor. Repeating with difference, you have the phrase about the saint's arm stretched out in stanza 1, reformulated as one turned up palm is out the window in stanza 2, reformulated again as he must hold his hand like a branch out in the sun and rain. And the great power of this kind of repetition with variation is this intense focus, a kind of creation of depth and connection and unity. Various triples. We were talking about triples at dinner last night, but there are plenty of triples in this poem. Blackbird that lands and lays in it and settles down to nest, wait until the young are hatched and fledged and flown. At the end, of course, he has forgotten self, forgotten bird, and on the riverbank, forgotten the river's name. So, powerful shaping device. Other things I haven't got time to talk about, really. The rhyming and the half-rhyming between so and flown. Topping and tailing the first half of the poem, time and name, topping and tailing the stanzas of the second half of the poem. And all kinds of clever things like warm eggs, small breast, and then reversal, head and claws of these or, sounds. And the unrepeated. Unrepeated in the sense that the word under earth was not in the old Oxford English Dictionary. Unhyphenated. The word under earth, in a sense, is a neologism. It's an unrepeated and therefore equally powerfully foregrounded, as is the phrase love's deep river, referring to a thing, again picked up in the final line, the reference to the river bank, makes you think that there's a river near the cell in which St. Kevin is praying. In fact, if you work back through the poem, somehow the river has crept in and is not there in the same text world as the world of the cell. Arguably, there's no real river in the sense that there's a real cell. There's only a metaphorical river of love. And then this crucial repetition at the fulcrum of the poem, since the whole thing is imagined anyhow, imagine being Kevin. Why are these good? Because they do project equivalence, they more than usual fit connectedness, relatedness, intratextual attentiveness or self-monitoring by the poet. And they also meet these other broader linguistic standards of informativity, relevance, the yielding of cognitive or emotional effects, as relevance theorists would call it. Sorry, I have to move on so fast. Let's begin, at least, with a contrasting kind of poem as a highlighting of, as it were, bad repetition. Over the page, the beginning of William McGonagall, the famously bad Scottish poet of the 19th century. Famously bad. He's a happy hunting ground for stylisticians. The little child stood thinking sorrowfully and ill at ease in a forest beneath the branches of the tall pine trees, and his big brown eyes with tears seemed dim, while one soft arm rested on a huge dog close by him. Now let's be fair to him. And only 4 summers had passed o'er his baby head, and poor little child, his twin brother, was dead, who had died but a few days before, and now he must play alone, for he'd see him no more. So what is wrong with this? Well, here are a couple more stanzas. It's on your handout. Why are these wrong? What is wrong with this? And I would argue that a part of it is to do with there being the wrong kind of repetitions. Sorrowfully and ill at ease. Ill at ease is a kind of a complex repetition of sorrowfully, but it doesn't give us anything more than is already given by sorrowfully. If someone is sorrowful, isn't it likely to be the case that they're already ill at ease? Little and a little child. Children, in our schemas of these things, children are on the little side. So unless you've got a naughty child or a something child, it doesn't really benefit. Thank you. It doesn't really benefit to focus on the littleness. In a forest beneath the branches of the tall pine trees. You know, again, I'm not a creative writing instructor, but just as a reader, I want to hack about at this. If they're pines, they're going to be trees. So let's drop the word trees. If they're going to be if they're pines, they're likely to be tall. Let's drop the word tall. If it's a forest, it's going to have trees in it already. You know, there's just too much of the wrong kind of repetition. And then, because I'm running completely out of time, let me just summarize by saying that it seemed to me that McGonagall's repetitions are immediate. You know, they're adjacent in the text, but they're not full. They're reformulations, but the reformulations don't add anything. You can have immediate repetition, which is powerful, even though it's full. Full repetition, as in these lines from Tennyson and Shakespeare, can be extremely powerful. So immediate repetition in literary creativity has to be full. It can't be this partial, reformulating kind. What you do get, however, in literary creative poems like Heaney and everyone else, I think, is longer distance repetitions. And that's where McGonagall breaks down. He doesn't have those. He has these immediate ones, which are not full ones. And I've tried to summarize that in my tentative concluding points. Since you have the handout, I probably don't need to run through these things. But over and over again, the lexical choices in the McGonagall poem fail the Gricean standard that whatever one contributes should be not untrue, suitably informative, relevant, and orderly. And sometimes these are violations multiple times over. So my concluding points are on the handout, so I won't repeat them here. Thank you.